Welcome. Today we're going to go over how to unpack and set up your A5 bundle. When you receive your A5 bundle from Agile, you should receive a box like this. Inside the box will contain your A5 point of sale, as well as an extra box that will have the power cord and 2 additional cords. The box itself, you'll undo the tape. Inside, it will look like this. This box will contain the power cord as well as 2 additional cords, which we'll go over in just a second. When you open up the box, you'll want to set it on a solid surface and then hold it to lift up the phone and set it on a solid surface. Do not get rid of your box just at all. You're going to want to keep the box in case you need to RMA your device or to Agile, or send it back to us for any kind of repair service. Once you've gotten the device out in the phone, turn it on its side. You can take one side of the phone off, and then take the device, flip it towards its bottom. You're going to want to hold the one side so it doesn't put any extra stress on the screen. You lift the second piece of foam off and set it flat on its bottom. During the rest of this tutorial, you're going to want to make sure that the device is sitting on its base. That makes sure that there's no additional stress placed on any other part of the device, as well as ensuring that no other part of the device could get damaged. The last part of the unpacking process is to take the plastic off of your device. You're going to want to gently rock it forward and into your chest. On the bottom, you're going to see a bundle of the plastic. You're going to take the plastic and slip it out from under the base while supporting the front of the screen on your chest. Sit the device back down on the base and lift the plastic bag up and off. At this time, you can put the phone and the bag back in the box the point of sale terminal came in. Once again, do not get rid of your box. Your point of sale terminal will come with all the plugs and extensions pre-connected. The only things that you will need to connect to the terminal itself should be your Ethernet, which we'll go over in a separate part of the video. If you've ordered your bundle with a rear display, you'll get a rear display like this one. This is the CD101. It's a larger touchscreen display. Now, the cables you're going to have coming out the back are going to be USB extension cables, where you're going to be able to plug in your ticket or receipt printer, your barcode scanner, your mouse, and your keyboard. Depending on what you ordered from Agile will depend on how many of these extensions you have and what they might be labeled. You will always have a keyboard and a mouse extension, but if you ordered a ticket printer and not a receipt printer or the like, it will be labeled accordingly. The other 2 pieces that are going to be coming out are the cash store cable as well as the power brick. The cord for the power brick is in the box that we pulled out first. The power cable plugs into the power brick, and when we're finished setting the device up, will be plugged into power. Do not plug your device into power now. We want to do that last so we can get all the rest of the peripherals attached to the device and have it set up first. That way, if you need to move it or when you get things plugged in, it doesn't provide extra power to those devices. The other 2 cables inside of the box that we pulled out first are going to be these. They're the exact same cable and are specific to the Audrey point of sale system. They are serial cables. Agile does not sell any equipment that currently connects through a serial connection. However, we still include these in case you as the end user have a device like a cash store that may need to utilize these cables. In the next section of this video, we'll go over how and where these cables get plugged in. If you're not using these cables, you can take them, put them back inside the box that they came in, close up the box, and put it back inside the original box your point of sale system it came in. Next, we're going to go over where the ports are on the device, such as the USB, the Ethernet, the power, and where the serial cables connect. In this section, we're going to go over how to connect your Ethernet cable, as well as show you where the serial connector goes on the back of your point of sale if you need a serial connection. To open up and remove the 3 screws, you'll need a Phillips head number 2. There are 3 screws you're going to need to remove in order to take off this rear plate, as well as the plate on the stand where you can run your cables out the back of your point of sale. To get to the screw, there are 2 flaps here. These flaps are very stiff, but are more made of a rubber type material. You can bend it back and then take a screwdriver and just unscrew them. It's best when you do this to put your point of sale upside down to get the screws out, and it's important to try to do this before you plug anything else into your point of sale. If you have anything plugged into it, especially if you have it plugged into power, it can make this process much more difficult, as that can cause the point of sale to be more difficult to turn over. Once you remove the 2 screws holding back this back panel here, you can let go, and then this little piece should just come right off. Starting from this side of the machine, you'll see that there's a VGA port here, a headphone port, and an HDMI port. Typically, these ports are not used. Currently, the system does not support the usage of any of these ports. There are 4 high-speed USB ports here. As you can see on our machine, they're already plugged in with extensions through the back of the machine. Depending on what you've ordered from Agile, as accessories to your point of sale, can depend on how many of these extensions you have. There may be 3 or less. Beside these are 2 Ethernet and serial connections. I'll explain that momentarily. Beside those 2 is a cash drawer port. Beside that is the power connector. And beside that is an additional power connector. This final power connector is not used in the system or with this point of sale. Nothing should ever be plugged into this port at any time. When you're plugging in your Ethernet, the best practice from Agile is to unplug this power connector here. The power connector itself has a movable sheath. You'll want to take a hold of the sheath when you pull it out, because the sheath actually locks it into place. Undoing the power connector gives you better access to these 2 ports here. Now, I mentioned that they could be Ethernet or serial connections. Earlier in the video, in a different section, we mentioned that these point of sales come with serial connections. The serial connections use an Ethernet connector to plug in and convert that connection over to a serial connector. You'll want to make sure and use LAN 2. That is the first one you'll come across when you go from this side to this side. The second one can have an Ethernet cable plugged into it. As mentioned previously as well, these cables are very rare, and because of that, do not come connected as default to the system. Now, once you've run your Ethernet connection, you'll want to go ahead and put this plug for power back in. Reason for that is just to make sure that you don't accidentally forget to plug the power back to the system. We're going to rotate the system onto its side here. The reason for this is just to give us a little bit better access to the final screw that has to come out. The final screw is located at the top of this back plate, right beside the hinge. Again, the only screwdriver you'll need for this process is a number 2 Phillips. So the screw comes out. And this little plate just pops right off. To run your Ethernet cord, you're going to want to take it, and at the bottom is a hole through the stand out to the back of the device. You're going to want to go ahead and pull your Ethernet cable through there. Don't worry about trying to get it with the rest of the cables just yet. Once you've gotten it through and it looks like this, go ahead and grab that screw that you just took out and this cover again. The cover is going to go back on, and you're going to want to make sure to get all the cables kind of back where they're supposed to go, under this plastic cable. Now, this may be slightly difficult. The more cables you have, the thicker the bundle is going to be. As you can see, you have to press down a little bit to hold all the cables there. So you take your screw and your screwdriver, hold the cover down, and start to screw in the screw to hold the cable in place. Once you've gotten the screw tightened, you can take your screwdriver off and return the point of sale to sitting on its screen. Once again, you want to set the point of sale on its screen on a soft or padded surface to make sure it doesn't get damaged or scratched. Once you've gotten all of your cables back through here, you're going to want to get your cover here to be able to kind of finagle all the cables to sit under it. It's important to note that this part of the power cable does not fit under the cable cover here. So it will need to sit in more of an open area. To put the cable on, or the cover back on, you're going to take it and fit the 2 little teeth right here into the 2 holes right here. Once you've done that, make sure you've got the little plastic bulge for the power cable out and push down. You may need to move some of the USB cables around or your Ethernet cable around to make sure that it actually can close and connect to the point of sale screen solidly. The final steps are returning the screws into their holes and tightening them down. One important note as we finish tightening down this screw, it is very important to make sure that this tape or cover here is flat and not providing any resistance when you try to put these screws back in. If it's providing resistance, stop. Try to move some of the cables out of the way and make sure that when you sit it down, it will just sit there. If you don't, it increases the likelihood that you can accidentally cross thread these 2 screws when tightening down this cover. If you cross thread them, that can make it much more difficult trying to undo or reattach this cover later in the life of the machine. In this section, we're going to go over how to connect the different peripherals to your point of sale system. The first thing we're going to want to actually connect is going to be a cash drawer. The reason for this is the cash drawer is one of the heaviest, most awkward, and largest pieces of equipment that you're going to have purchased from Agile. To set up the cash drawer is actually very simple. You'll need to unpack it. It will come in a separate box from your point of sale and any other peripherals you've purchased. On the bottom of the cash drawer, there's going to be a cash drawer port. This cash drawer port is connected to the cash drawer cable that comes out of your point of sale. The cash drawer cable kind of looks like a phone cable that would have plugged into the wall. You take the cash drawer cable and just click it in. Once you've heard it click, it's connected to the cash drawer. Now, depending on your setup will depend on how you have to get these connected. It's possible that if your cash drawer is separate, like in a drawer area, that you may need to put the cash drawer in there or connect this beforehand. However, for our situation, what we're going to do is take it and lay it down, and then put our point of sale on top of it. Now, the order of the next items to be connected is dependent on what you've actually ordered from Agile, whether that's a ticket printer, a receipt printer, or a barcode scanner. There's no specific order in which you can have to connect these items, but for our purposes here, we're going to start with the barcode scanner. Your barcode scanner will come in a box separate from the other peripherals, but will be included with your printer, your mouse and keyboard. And if you get a separate rear display that is not connected, for whatever reason, it could be included in that box as well. Inside the box, the stand may not be connected, so you'll have the neck here and the base. They're connected with a single screw at the bottom, and it attaches like this. Your barcode scanner sits right inside and can sit on either side of your point of sale. The important part comes down to when you connect it to your point of sale itself. Each USB extension here is going to be labeled with what it actually needs connected to it. In this case, this one is labeled barcode scanner. So what you're going to do is plug the barcode scanner into it and put it wherever you're going to have your barcode scanner at your point of sale station. As mentioned previously, the number of actual connections may depend on how many items you purchase from Agile. But the next item we're going to go over is the printer. If you ordered a receipt printer, it's going to come in a box like this. Inside the box, you're going to have the manual and a cardboard sheet. And in plastic should be a power cable as well as a USB cable. You're then going to take off the top cardboard piece, and under that cardboard piece should be a white box and the printer itself. Your printer may or may not be wrapped in plastic. If it is not wrapped in plastic, that just shows that Agile's gone through and tested all of your equipment before you got it. Agile tests every piece of equipment that comes through our office to ensure quality as well as there are no manufacturer defects or issues before we send it out to you, the end user. There will be a small gold roll of paper at the bottom of your box as well. You may use this paper if you wish, but every receipt printer sold from Agile will include a complimentary roll of receipt paper inside of it. Once you've gotten your printer pulled out, you can go ahead and put the manual and the cardboard pieces back inside the box and set it to the side. Do not throw away your box. If you need to RMA your printer or send it back for any type of warranty service, this is the ideal box to send it back in. When you get your printer, if it's wrapped up like this one is, you'll want to go ahead and take it out of the bag and set it on its front like this. As you can see, there are a number of ports in the back of the printer itself. The USB and the power are the two that we're going to use. So we're going to set it on the side here. And first open up this box. This box contains the power brick for the printer. The power brick has a connector at the end which has 3 pins in it. It also has a little key on one side of the metal shield. The key corresponds to how the connector on the printer itself is made. You'll want to make sure the little key or the bump corresponds to the bump in the plug. Connects just like that. The USB cable will have a D-shaped end. The D-shaped end plugs in right beside the power cable with the hump of the D facing up. Again, you want to make sure when you plug in the USB cable from your printer that is plugged into the correct extension for that printer, whether that's a ticket or a receipt printer. In this case, this is our receipt printer. So we plug it in and it's now connected. You can rotate your printer to face forward and tuck the USB port cable away. You'll want to go ahead at this time and plug in the power cable to the power brick and make sure that it can get to power. You can go ahead and plug in your receipt printer at this time. The receipt printers, however, do not turn on by default. You'll want to make sure when you've booted up your point of sale itself to actually turn the printer on. To turn the printer on, there's an on-off button at the bottom. Press and hold, and your printer will come on with a green light, and it may beep at you. When it beeps like that, it means that there's an issue with the paper. Go ahead and open your printer and reseat the paper out the front of the printer according to the diagram inside on the door. If the printer continues to beep, go ahead and turn it off. Give your Agile support representative a call and they'll be happy to assist you in dealing with the beeping. The last thing you'll want to connect is your keyboard and your mouse. Once again, depending on what you've ordered will depend on this final step, how it looks. But the most important part is that you connect the keyboard and mouse to the USB connectors that actually say keyboard and mouse. They may be individual extenders, or there could be a splitter coming off of an extender where you can plug in the keyboard and the mouse. Lastly, now that you've gotten everything connected to your point of sale, you can rotate it back. So get your power brick and get the power cable. Go ahead and plug the power cable in. And at this time you can plug in the power for your point of sale as well. To turn your point of sale on, there's a button right here. Press the button. As you can see, the barcode scanner comes on. There should be a green light and your point of sale will boot up. In this section, we're going to go cover how to attach your rear display. To attach the rear display, set your A5 on its face. When you set the A5 on its face, make sure it is on a soft and padded surface. That will protect the screen from any scratches and the machine from any damage. When you're ready to put the rear display on, you're going to find the crack with this panel. The crack is going to be right above where the stand attaches to the point of sale. You're going to need to put your fingernails in the crack and slide it away from the stand. The cover has two clips that hold it in. It may be rather tight and difficult to get off at first, so be careful. There are two different ports for the rear displays that are offered by Agile Ticketing. The first port here is for the CD101 color touch rear display. It's 10 inches and attaches with the same type of mount. The little port here would connect to that port. The second port here is for the two-line VFD display. It is a green two-line customer display. So you will take it and the plug is actually keyed. So it can't be put in incorrectly. When you're ready to put the plug in, you look for the key and how it's keyed on the port itself. So you take it, and push it into the port. Make sure that it is firmly seated. When you're ready to seat the rear display, you're going to tilt the display itself away from the mount. This will give you a little bit of extra viewing room to try to make sure you're getting it on correctly. There are little extensions off the mount itself that need to slide into holes on the back side of the frame. So you're going to take it and try to slide those in. You'll know they're in when you can put it straight down and then the screw holes here line up. As with taking off the cover for the stand and for the back of the point of sale to attach any other peripherals like your ticket printer or your scanner, you only need a Phillips head number 2 screwdriver to screw in the supplied screws to hold on the rear display. When tight, the rear display should not move. You can tilt it down and then sit the terminal back up on its base.